that Hajj was legislated when? Towards the what? Of course in Medina, without a question, but towards the what? Towards the end. Doesn't mean that there was never no Umrah before that. But the Hajj wasn't fard until a certain what? And that's why Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he led the people in وهكذا. That's number one. Number two is that there are many ulama who hold the view that Umrah also is mandatory, just like Hajj. Last but not least, just because something is obligatory doesn't mean that you can put something smaller before it, which is also sometimes preparatory and get you into it. I may have a student, a disciple, and I say today you give the khutbah. He doesn't have to give the khutbah yet. I'm not sick. I'm not old. I'm not traveling. I'm not being incarcerated. I'm here. I'm alive, walking, talking. And I say you give the khutbah every week. Does he have to give the khutbah yet? No. But I want him to what? Get his feet for when the time comes when I what? I can't. I'm not going to be there. I've passed on the baton. It's yours now. You have to do it. So oftentimes when a person makes Umrah first, it gets him prepared for Hajj. You get to see it, what to pack, what not to pack, how rough it's going to be. Or oftentimes you get a good whiff you get addicted. And I got to come back now. And going to make Hajj with the expenses today and the difficulties and working, no doubt, it takes a great deal of resolve. You got to be resolute to make Hajj. I'm doing it this year. I got this debt, I had this medical bill, my wife, I'm going to what? I'm making Hajj. You can't do that unless you have resolve. And sometimes you need that what? You need to see it. And it's from the wisdom when you wish to marry your sister that you are allowed to what? See her. It increases your what? Your resolve. I got to get this, I got to get my place, I got to get my money saved up because I saw how beautiful she is. Now I want her. But it's not the same if you don't know what she looks like yet. Allah knows best. Malish, no Nuruddin questions. Any more questions before we stop, brothers and sisters? Tafadhal. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Traveling throughout the country and seeing the despair and the people of need everywhere. What is the view on those that are asking for help that are non-Muslim?
Question regarding giving money to non-Muslims. It's nothing wrong with giving money to non-Muslims. Whether you do it with the intention of giving them dawah, or you give them because they're human beings, that's tayyib. The Prophet ﷺ, he tells us, وَفِي كُلِّ كَبْدٍ رَطْبٍ أَجْرٌ. He says, anyone who has a liver or a spleen, there's a reward in feeding them. A dog, a cat, any living creature is a reward. However, a few things to take in mind. Number one is looking after your own first. Poor Muslims that are starving in the masjid, that are my brothers and sisters, they deserve my wealth more than someone who doesn't share my faith. All right? Number two is make sure that when you give sadaqah, you give sadaqah to the non-Muslims because they are humans, they're servants of Allah as well, and because they need things, and it's a means of dawah. Not saying you, but people don't give money to non-Muslims to suck up to them and to beg and to seek their good favor. See, we're good people too, look. No, unless you're in a position of political influence. That's a different story. That's from wisdom. A leader says the Muslims are going to donate to this cause. The Muslims are going to make this in a blood bank. That's one thing. That's a big benefit for all the Muslims, but don't try to suck up and kiss up and try to get them, see, I'm not a terrorist, I gave you money. So many people, they do this. And that money could be spent in many, many other avenues that is more needed. And Allah knows best. If there are no more questions, Fadl. Muhammad, tell him what hand we raise when we ask questions, Sheikh. He know that. Through the cup, Sheikh.
You right about that, brother. I use both hands. I'm talking my hand.
Cup is full.
In regards to performing tayammum.
Okay,
and traveling. Now, from my understanding, tayammum, you're supposed to perform tayammum with each specific salah.
Okay.
Like you perform tayammum, you're traveling, there's no water. You make the salah, you're traveling. Now the next salah come in. Can you just perform that next salah, you're going to perform tayammum again?
Okay. Question in regards to a tayammum and making tayammum for one salah, or does it have to be done for each and every salah? is based off of another issue. Is tayammum هل هو مبيح ولا هل هو رافع للحدث? Is tayammum something that you're allowed to do? Or is tayammum itself a means of purification? So the ulama who say that it itself is a means of purification, they say you make tayammum as long as you don't what? Break it. La, as long as you don't break wudu. If you don't pass wind, you have tayammum for dhuhr, you make tayammum, is the same for asr. As long as, because there's no water, period. We're not even dealing with the issue of water. La, water is out of the, we're not even talking about water. Because if it's water, we wouldn't be talking about tayammum, period. It's a total drop, there's no water, period. Or we only have water for drinking, whatever the case may be, it's a hurricane. So there's no water. If I make tayammum for dhuhr, can I keep that same tayammum for asr? Based off of those ulama who say that it itself is tahara, yes you can. And based off of the view of those ulama who say that tayammum is mubih, it's only a permission, you're allowed, it's a concession. You only do it because of need, you make it water again, you have to make tayammum again. So it's based off of another issue. What's important is you make tayammum, you don't break your wudu, the water is totally non-existent, the next period comes in, what's the dalil that you have to make tayammum again? Allah knows best. تفضل.
تفضل الأخ وذكر الآية الرجال قوامون على النساء. ما هو قوام الرجال؟
طيب قوامة الرجل هناك قوامة تتعلق بالدين وهناك شيء يعني أكيد يتعلق بالدنيا. أما التي تتعلق بالدين فأن يعلمها وأن يؤدبها فيحسن تأديبها، يأمرها بالمعروف وينهى عن المنكر، يمنعها من ارتكاب المعاصي والمحرمات، يذكرها في حالة الغفلة والنسيان، يصحيها للصلاة مثلا، وهكذا. هذا لا شك أن الإمامة ترجع إليه، هو إمام البيت، إمام الدار، هو القوام فيما يتعلق بالدين. أما فيما يتعلق بالدنيا فعلى سبيل المثال الخروج من المنزل، عليه أن تستأذن هي. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إذا استأذنت امرأة أحدكم من المسجد فلا يمنعها. المفروض بغض النظر عن 2018، بغض النظر عن العادات والتقاليد، الدين الإسلامي المفروض أن المرأة لا تخرج من المنزل إلا بإذن من الزوج. فهذا مثال من القوام، أنه قوام عليها. هناك كذلك أن لا تدخل من لا يرضاه هو، وأن لا تجلس على مكرمته في منزله على الأريكة أو السوفة من لا يرضاه هو، وهكذا. فهناك قوامة تتعلق بالدين، قد ذكرنا أمثلة على ذلك. وهناك قوامة تتعلق بالدنيا، على حسب، هذه فقط أمثلة وليس على سبيل الحصر.
وما هي تكملة الآية؟
بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم.
بما أنفقوا.
أكيد.
شرط القوامة.
أكيد.
الإنفاق.
هذا هو. يعني لا يعقل أن الواحد يكون يعيش على نفقة المرأة، هذا بيتها وسيارتها، وكيف هي تستأذن وهي تقول علي أن أخرج أعمل وأكسب؟ طبعا. فكثير من المفاهيم للأسف انقلبت علينا في هذا المجتمع وفي غيره كذلك. والله العظيم يا عمي نحن دائما نذكر الإخوان بهذا الشيء.
أرجو أن
أبشر. أكيد أبشر.
القوام المسلمين عامة
صارت انعكس.
يأتوا بهذه الآية الرجال قوامون
فحسب بس.
ويقفوا.
فهمت عليك. أكيد.
تكملة الآية
توضح، وأكيد بلا شك جزاكم الله خير. للأسف هذه ظاهرة، يعني كثير من الرجال يعيشون يعني للأسف. The concept of a man, based off of your question, Sheikh, يعني the concept of a man being qawwam, however you wish to translate that term, in charge, running the shots, head brother in charge, however you want to translate that concept, okay? Qawwam is that the end of the ayah, the completion of the ayah makes it clear what's meant by the beginning of the ayah. Because of bima anfaqu min amwalihim, the money that they spend. First and foremost, bima faddala ba'dhum ala ba'dhin. Allah gave one precedence over the other. So one of the common sense now, your father, he says to you, son, I want you to go to school. He said, I don't want to go to school. School is stupid. They don't teach me anything. I know more than the teachers. He said, son, I want you to go to school. He says, I don't want to go to school. Son, don't come to my house later than 9 p.m. Don't bring no girls into my house. Don't smoke that stuff in my house. Right? Don't play that crazy music in my house, in the basement or the attic. Says, I want to be in a band. I have talent. Says, don't let me hear that stuff in my house. If you don't want to listen, the father catches you doing it. He sees you doing it again a second time, a third time. What does your father want to tell you? If you're not going to listen, then do what? You don't have to listen to me. But you don't have to. But you're not going to eat my food, drink my water, sleep under my roof, and disobey me. This is clear common sense. So the concept of the father having the authority over his son is based off of him being what? Qawam. He's the feeder, the protector, the provider. So how can it be understood for a father to tell his son what to do, and the son is the one who works? And this is what a son often says, especially if he gets caught up in the streets, right? Says, I bought my own clothes. Pull out a pocket full of money. You work for 12 hours like a dog, come home with peanuts. Big stack on the table, right? I don't have to listen to you. We're equal. You may say, I'm better than you. Right or wrong? This is a reality, unfortunately. So the concept of a man having his wife, and he's the one who's in charge of her. Now, we're not talking about feminism or chauvinism or 2018 or politically correct. We're not getting into that right now. We're talking about Islam. That's all we're talking about. That's what Allah says in the Quran. Allah being the Qawam, the one who's supposed to be responsible for the woman, the ruling responsibility and the religious responsibility. It doesn't make sense how you living with your wife in her house. She pays the rent. She pays the bills. She's feeding you. She bought the underwear that are on you. And you tell her, don't disobey me. You can't leave the house unless what? I give you permission. I'm being for sundown, huh? The point is that this is something we're laughing about, but this is a sad reality among many men. Okay? And many men, they go extreme, and they, alhamdulillah, they wish to practice the sunnah to a strong extent, but they neglect 10 other necessary sunnahs that lead to the practice of that sunnah. So the sunnah of life is that a man is supposed to be the breadwinner. He's supposed to be the hunter and the gatherer. He's supposed to bring the animal on his shoulder and bring it to the hut. And he says, don't do it like this, because I was out there hunting the animal. I brought back the animal. The fire that you're going to cook the animal on, I provided for. That system of life won't work if the woman herself is the hunter. If the woman herself is the one who runs the hunt. So it's backwards. Last but not least, brothers, all jokes aside, this is nothing more than a good example of how there are many social ills that we have in America that have to be fixed and brought up to the surface in order to implement many aspects of Sharia and of the deen. And until we do that, it's like, I don't know what example to mention. It's like pouring water in a cup that has a hole in the bottom. It's going to keep. This is a reality. Social ills. This is reality. And every culture, every race, every people, they have their set of what? Social ills. They have to be dealt with and addressed. So the concept of me living off of my wife's money and then me saying, don't do this, this is haram, you can't do that, obey me, this and that. This is a reality that many men have. And it's sad and it's unfortunate. Or the opposite of social ill. A woman, she says, you don't do nothing. You don't take care of me. You're this, you're that. I can't do anything. I can't take care of you because you're always the one that's what? No. Just doing it and commanding and talking. You see what I'm saying to you? You're too much of a husband for me to be your husband. It's a reality. You're too much of a husband for me to be a husband. This is sad. Or the opposite. So these ills are reality. And that's why the specialists, they say everyone needs therapy. Everybody.
Yeah, we all need that.
And Allah knows best. Allah help us all. Fadl Shaykh. Wa iyyakum barakallahu feekum, Shaykh. Same here.
And my question concerns educators, specifically Muslims working with emotionally disturbed children, etc. They're violent to themselves, they're violent to others around them. What advice, how would you give to a person in such a predicament, inshallah?
Tayyib. I would say, with regards to people who work with children that have mental disorders or psychological disorders, they're violent, abusive, etc. What advice do you give to Muslim women who work in this atmosphere? I don't think they should enter into that realm of teaching unless they have the necessary training. The necessary training and necessary professionalism. And it's not enough just being a good teacher. Or it's not enough just saying, a person would say, I'll put my trust in Allah and I'll recite the Quran to them. This is a real aspect of life in which you have to have the proper training and the proper education and the proper experience. So I would say Allah says, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Allah says, don't send yourself into destruction with your own hands. If you're not properly educated and properly trained, don't take that job. The moment that you are properly trained and you are properly educated and there is a need for you, take the job, put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and know for sure that someone has to do the job. And if they have the good intention and the right intention, they'll take the monetary compensation and they'll also get a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, helping these people that many people don't want to help or don't know how to help. And they're servants of Allah as well. They deserve a certain level of good treatment just like anyone else. And oftentimes, one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons why children are like this is because they were never treated with kindness. They never got their haqq at a young age or whatever the case may be, unfortunately. Their haqq of professional treatment, of prophetical, the necessary healing that they need. So a Muslim sister who works with these type of disturbed children, if she's properly trained and educated herself, she puts her trust in Allah, and she has a good intention that I'm doing this not only just because it's a job, but to help out for the cause of Allah, then that's a beautiful act of worship, and that's a type of jihad fi sabilillah. Being patient upon harm, being patient upon being underpaid. And that's, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I think, a way of fixing some of the problems in society. And Allah knows best. Fadal. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I have a two-part question addressing the wiping over the socks for the wudu. The first part is, what about with the shoes, like the sneakers, wiping over those if you're wearing the same socks that you had wiped over? Yeah, if it extends to the sneakers. And then the second part was, you had mentioned the touching of the private parts breaking the wudu. So let's say, when you get out the shower or something, you're dressing,
Clear. Touch your private part, type. As far as the first question, if you make wudu or ghusl and you actually wash your feet, your digits, your bare feet, you dry off, put on lotion or whatever, coconut oil, whatever you put, you moisturize your skin, then you put on your socks, then you put on your boots or your shoes, then you go outside to work and it's Salatul Dhuhr. You don't have to take off your boots or your sneakers. It's permissible to wipe over your boots and wipe over your sneakers. The moment you take off your boots and your sneakers, you wipe over your socks. Clear on that? As far as coming out of the shower, then if you're of the teaching, if you've been taught, and I didn't say opinion. Opinion is for someone who studies independently. But if I'm a layman Muslim, and I was taught by a trusted source that touching the private part without a barrier breaks the wudu, man or woman, when I get out the shower, I made wudu in the shower, I cannot touch my private part again unless I want to make wudu again. So therefore, in my shower, whether it was a shower for janaba, for menses, or just washing up, and at the same time I made wudu in the shower, I dry off, I put on my socks, everything, khalas. The moment you touch your private area for lotion or drying off or whatever, your wudu is what? Is broken based off of those teachings. As far as the other teachings that say touching the private part is like touching your hand. And some they say touching the private part breaks the wudu based off of lustful intention. That's it. But you're of the first teaching, for example, and you wouldn't touch your private part with your bare hand. So you figure out what would you do. Dry off with a towel, put on some plastic gloves. I'm serious. This is a wallahi, this is a reality. An example of being cunning and implementing what you believe to be the proper fiqh. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, someone may laugh, but it's a reality. I'm putting some surgical gloves, some plastic gloves, and put on lotion on my body. Every part of my skin needs to be moisturized without breaking my wudu. Play it. But if you have that teaching and you do touch your private part bare, then your wudu is what? It's broken. And Allah knows best. If there are no other questions, from Fadl.
just with regard to what he said though, with the kuf or the sock, it should be above the ankle.
The sock doesn't necessarily have to be above the ankle, but it's best. It's the best and safest thing for it to be at least above the ball of the ankle. That's the best thing. That's the best thing. That's the best thing, and Allah knows best. Here we'll stop, brothers and sisters. Jazakumullah khairan for your time and for your attention. Hopefully, it won't take another year for us to come back. Inshallah ta'ala. Allah knows best. Thank you very much for your invitation, for your participation, and for your respect. Jazakumullah khairan.